Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to WeLoveMetal.com. We are on the phone with Liam Cormier of the Cancer Bats, a friend of the site. How you doing, Liam?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. What's the weather like in Copenhagen?
It's beautiful. Sunny, warm.
Wow, you're not going to want to come back to Canada then. We get a snowstorm coming out here.
I know. My girlfriend told me last night that it was snowing in Ottawa. I was like, ooh, I should not tell you I am in a short sleeve shirt.
The last time we talked was in August, and you were playing a show at the Pavilion. And again in May now, you have an all ages at the Pavilion on May 14th. And then the show will be at the 13th at the Paragon. Going to be nice to be back?
Oh, man, I'm so stoked to be coming back to Halifax for this tour.
And your guys are with 3 Inches of Blood this time. That must be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really psyched about that. We're doing a cool co-headliner with those guys. So we're going to flip the show. So we're going to headline the Pavilion, and they're going to headline the Paragon. So.
Oh, excellent. Good stuff. Now, you talked at length in our last time we chatted about Halifax and how many times you guys have been there. I mean, you've been all over the world now. Is it Halifax still a special place for you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like I know we talked about it a bit before, like how, I mean, the East Coast was like the first place that we started touring, and that was the first real spot that showed us some real love. So we've been, kind of having a good love affair with the East Coast since, the band really like first started. Like that was even before we toured in Ontario, we toured out in the East Coast. So it was kind of like everybody being psyched on us out there gave us the motivation to kind of push the band as hard as we did.
Excellent. Now, it's been about a year since you've released Bears, Mayors, Scraps, and Bones, and I actually had it on my my list of top albums of 2010, so it's definitely well
thank you very much.
You still digging playing it? The fans still liking it, or is the shine starting to wear off some?
Yeah, I mean, people are psyched. It's cool that, like, I mean, there's obviously, like, the fan favorites that have kind of come up, like, in the same way that, when we were touring Hail, we realized how many people loved, like, songs like Sorceress and things like that, and, Let It Pour, and it's like you work those into your set. It's like, now that we've been touring Bears for a while, it's like seeing how many people are, like, psyched on songs like Sweep This Away and Darkness Lives and, Fake Gold and stuff like that. It's really cool to have that kind of feedback. Because it's like, we love all the songs, you know what I mean? But to kind of, like, hear from people what they really dug about it. Like, songs like We Are the Undead, where it's like, oh, cool, people are still into, like, our punk rock side,
Definitely. And now that actually brings up an interesting point. You guys now have a huge catalog. How are you putting set lists together?
I try and split it up, like, as evenly as we can. I mean, it's tough because, like, in a place like Canada, I mean, people, got into us on Birthing the Giant, and there's been people kind of, like, coming along. Whereas, like, when we play out in Europe, like, that record, it was super hard to find out this way. So it's sometimes tough to gauge, like, what fans are going to want to hear. But I think in Canada, at least, like, we like to try and keep it pretty even. So play, an equal amount of old songs, kind of songs off Hail Destroyer, and then new songs.
Well, I'll tell you, we recently just did an interview with Tommy Rogers of Between the Buried and Me, and you guys actually came up. He thinks that internationally it's time for you guys to break big. That must be pretty good to hear from a man of his standing. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love those dudes. We toured with them last summer, and yeah, just got along really well and had a good time hanging with them.
Have you had a chance to check out their new CD, the Hypersleep?
No, I haven't. The last thing that I heard was what they were touring on, but I need to get that checked out, because, man, live, that band was just, like, kicking our asses every day. It was cool, like, we would watch, like, their whole set, and then they would be side stage, like, watching our whole set, like, just stoked, like, as fans of music, more so than just, like, hanging out on a tour. It was rad.
That's great. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it being a Canadian band. We get a lot of questions from fans asking if being a hardcore, more extremer side, which you guys are, how can young bands make a living doing this?
I think that the whole idea is that it's more that you want to be living doing it and less of making a living at it. You know what I mean? Like, for us, it's definitely more of a lifestyle in terms of, like, touring and, doing this band full time, but not as much like, oh, I'm going to do this band so I can get a car or have an apartment or, you know what I mean? Like, have a lot of that. Like, you have to really love, like, playing in a band and wanting to tour full time, because that's kind of the only way that you can make it happen.
That's cool, man. So the music does come first then.
Yeah, I mean, especially, like, because at this level, you're not going to be, you can be successful in that, like, you can tour and, have all these experiences, but you're not going to be, like, coming home to the fattest bank account. You know what I mean? And I think that's the misconception that a lot of kids have, like, when they see our band. It's like, we've really tailored our lives in order to be able to do this. Like, only one of us right now has an apartment. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to live with my girlfriend. But even still, like, we're not home long enough to even have a place. Do you know what I mean? Like, we spend our money more on storage containers than on rent, if that makes sense. So it's more just like the fact that we're gone for 10 months out of the year, but not in a complaining way, but just for kids, like, who are looking at this to kind of understand, like, you need to make that sacrifice in order for it to work.
And that actually leads to my next question, Liam, was, with the schedule you guys have, when do you find time to write and record? I mean, you must have inspiration on the road because you're always on the road.
Yeah, I mean, we do a fair bit of, like, writing on a personal side. Like, I mean, I definitely am always, like, writing down ideas and working on song, like, concepts. But then for us, like, we really have to focus and take time off of tour if we want to write an album. So, I mean, this summer is going to be our time to basically just take off the rest of the year. We're playing some festivals here and there, but for the most part, we're just going to write a new record. And for us, it's just the four of us, like, in a practice space, just banging it out.
Now, do you put timelines on that, or do you just know when it's time to go back in the studio?
I mean, we try to not keep it, too long in between albums. Like, we obviously don't want to take, like, 3 years, but for the most part, it seems like every 2 years we put out a new record, and that's kind of the track record we've had, so we're trying to keep up with that. But if all goes well, we'll have a new album out in March.
Awesome. I actually have a question here from a fan, Guitar God 16. He or she, I'm not sure, wants to know what the day of a show looks like for the Cancer Bats.
What the what?
What the day of a show looks like. Like, what do you guys do before you hit the stage?
Day of the show is usually cruising around the city that we're in, trying to find coffee or food. Some of us are vegetarian, and others just like good food. So that's always a good daily mission. And then if we have more time, we try and check out record stores. Like, I'm sat outside of the Rock Uglin, which is a record store in Copenhagen. And then we're en route right now to our tour manager getting tattooed. That would be our other thing. So maybe instead of tattoos, you could insert, like, skate shop or maybe skate spot. That's like our usually daily rituals in new towns.
Awesome. So you've been tattooed all over the world then?
Yeah, I have a lot of, I've been lucky to be able to get a lot of international tattoos.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm going to wrap up with one final question here, and basically I want to know, when everything's all said and done, what do you want the legacy of the Cancer Bats to be?
I'd love people to just, kind of think of us as a rad band. Like, I feel like so far we have a pretty good track record as far as records go. I'm not really, like, embarrassed by any of them. You know what I mean? Like, there's always, like, that band that you love that's put out albums, and you're like, remember that time when they tried to make a lot of money and they put out that bogus radio record? That's kind of what I'm, like, really trying to not do with our band. I'd rather just break up right now than put out something that sucks.
You don't want the Kiss disco fiasco.
Yeah. Or it's like, remember when they got really ambitious?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah. Some just call it progressive these days, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's my whole thing. That would be my legacy of Cancer Bats, is that we just put out brutally good records.
Excellent. Well, I want to encourage everybody, May 13th, May 14th, Pavilion and the Paragon, respectively, in Halifax. check out the Cancer Bats. This will be my 4th show, and I can't say enough about the live entertainment you guys put on. So, thank you so much for doing this, Liam.
No worries. Thanks for giving me a shout.